Good morning, my people. This is the Rokani Media Football. Arsenal was beaten by 2 goals to 0 in the finale of the Carabao Cup. By the way, it's one of the things that I never really thought it could go that way. I had gone in for a 2-1 win for the club of Arsenal, but indeed what? Arsenal went ahead to obviously surrender to Man City. They succumbed to the supremacy of Man City in there for you. So Man City having gone ahead to obviously draw with West Ham, beaten by Real Madrid, they are like, we can't let all go to Arsenal because we all know to it that Arsenal is some good points, Arsenal is some good points ahead of Man City in the Premier League. And Pep was like, if there is a moment I need to obviously come in and obviously epitomize to really at least give hope to these players and send shockwaves into the mindset of Arsenal players, this is the moment. So smash the like button, comment and share. For all you watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Rokani David is my name, and hope you guys are really having fantastic fun. And it's indeed one of those moments that Arsenal fans never really went ahead to sleep well on their bed, never went to sleep on the good sides of their beds, and I know they won't wake up on the good sides of their bed, but I tell you, that is life, and that's what football really means to you in there for you. Football is always a sport that has to get a winner and the loser. And obviously, as I told you in the match day live, that this trophy will have to either go to Manchester or it will go to a side known as London. And me, as a fan of Man United, I'm not happy to see Man City bringing a trophy to Manchester. I'm not happy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why should they obviously be getting this? That's why I 100% wanted Arsenal to obviously do the needful. And it was not all about City having better players than Arsenal, but City had a better game plan than Arsenal. And obviously, Arteta, I don't know why he respected Pep so much in a finale like this. You get? I've seen Arteta trying to go pound per pound, with Pep Guardiola in the recent games. And the recent games that we've gone ahead to see, it has been Pep Guardiola playing what we call a low block, and obviously it went ahead to obviously see Arsenal really capitalizing onto this. But this time round, Arsenal chickened out of this. If you really watch that game of football, Arsenal was in this game for 25 minutes only. The first 25 minutes of the game, that's when Arsenal was in this game. Past the 25 minutes, Arsenal were nowhere to be seen. They ghosted in the game for all those 65 minutes. 25 minutes, I think that's when Arsenal created most of the better chances of the game, apart from that of Ricardo Carafiori that went ahead to obviously hit the right bottom post. I think it was the left bottom post towards the end of the game. You understand? So Arsenal chickened out and they were hiding. They were not obviously showing themselves up. And I was like, Arteta, what's wrong? And the funny thing is, when Arsenal goes 2 goals down, they start to play. And we all know to it that Arsenal can really pass that ball from the box, from their box to the box or to the final third of the pitch. But they could not try out that. Not until they went 2 goals down and they were like, let's try to obviously get back into the game. And I'm like, who does this? And I think Pep edged Arteta in this game. It was a tactical masterclass by Pep Guardiola because he brought in what you call a high block. He played a high line, you get? And he was like, I'm gonna really do the needful and really block you in your own half such that you don't come in my half. But what we got to know towards the end of the game, that Arteta had all the tools, he had all the minerals, that could see him go past that high line. That is it. He had all the minerals. He had all the players. His player cast could do that because when they're 2 goals down, you saw what they did. They obviously came through and really they created chances after chances after chances. And I'm like, why would you wait? Why would you wait until the 80th, 7th minute to start to attack? Why would you wait? That's why Pep, I give him a very big 5-finger salute for really knowing that let me use the vast majority of the 90 minutes to see to it that I really get my team up front. And indeed he did. You get? And what really happened to that particular encounter? Nico O'Reilly, the birthday boy, was the hero for Man City in there for you. And it was Nico O'Reilly in the 60th minute. At the hour mark, he went ahead to obviously put that ball in the back of the net. And then in the 64th minute, obviously, the ball went ahead to obviously cross the line. But Arteta got things wrong. You get? If you saw how City started to attack Arsenal, it was when Hincapie got a yellow card. And City was like, let's capitalize onto this side of Hincapie because we know he has a yellow card and the manager is keeping him on the field of play. And you saw to it that all the goals, where did the crosses come from? From Hincapie's side, you know? And the manager really had to really make these substitutions. And to me, Hincapie was not returning after the first half. That is it. Second half, Ricardo Carafiori was supposed to come in through. And you saw what Ricardo Carafiori brought onto the field of play when he came on. You know, he really put in a very different shift altogether. And he really put in a very huge shift. And Mikel Arteta got very many things wrong, by the way. He got very many things wrong. And Arsenal, after conceding the first goal, in the next 4 minutes, Arsenal had to concede the second goal. You know, that shows you how they are not concentrated in there for you. And you ask yourself, a defense that has, for the most times, really been one of the hardest to penetrate, how does it come one of the biggest to penetrate? And they swallowed 2 goals in there for you. Now, for that, there is a stat that Opta just gonna hit obviously capture. There is a stat that Opta Joe has gonna hit obviously capture, and it reads as follows. Arsenal's defeat to Man City was their first by a margin of 2+ goals in 410 days. You know, 0-2 versus Newcastle in the League Cup February 2025. It also marked their largest XG deficit in a cup tie this season, 0.3 for 1.5 against. So this is really unacceptable, you get? And it was all about the tactics of Mikel Arteta. And this all goes to Mikel Arteta. I know I'm obviously going to be coming to the goalkeeper of Arsenal for the first mistake he did in there that costed Arsenal a very big deficit in there. But it all started with Arteta. If you are Arteta, what do you lose by telling your team to obviously go ahead and really attack this team instantly? You know, Arteta at a certain point X, all for the majority of the game, made it boring. You get? And I was like, is he afraid of Pep? Does he respect Pep to this level? And I was like, oh my God, please don't do this to us. Don't do this to us, Mr. Arteta. And that's how Arteta went ahead to spoil our final. But Kepa Arrizabalaga, first mistake, bringing Patrick Dogu down, getting out of your goal area as a sweeper goalkeeper, missing out on that, free kick caused, and he got a yellow card. You understand? Second mistake, instead of patching that ball, he tries to hold it, it slips through his hands, and it goes to the vicinity of Nico O'Reilly, and it is her. That's how it obviously goes ahead, obviously cross the line. You understand? So that mistake is unforgivable. And I know Mikel might, in the final, they're playing, maybe, if at all they thrive to play in the FA Cup finale, maybe the manager will be like, you disappointed me in that final, and this time around, I'm also not going to give you exactly what you want. I'm like, I'm going to throw you. You know, I'm going to bench you in there for you. But Arteta has lots of things to learn. And maybe this is a blessing, this guy, is that he has lost and he'll have a different game plan when they're playing against a team known as Man City when we return from the international break. I think it will be the second game after playing Chelsea. They'll be playing away at Etihad, you know. So, Arsenal, I repeat it, they had all what to beat Man City. Arteta's tricks really failed them. But for City, I liked their display, and I liked Pep, who was like, I'm here to win. His celebration speaks it all. The celebration of Pep Guardiola speaks it all, that he really needed this badly, and he went ahead to obviously get it. And after getting it, the celebration resulted into him even getting a yellow card. I have my friend here, known as Simple. I was like, Arsenal is obviously going to beat City. And he told me City is obviously going to be beating them. And, for me, I accept defeat. And I told him after the game that, please, you've won and Arsenal has been beaten, and I admit defeat. For me, I'm a sportsman, and that's what we call sportsmanship. You have to admit that they've obviously gone ahead, obviously beat the team that you really support. But one thing that one thing I told you about African supporters of Man United, they find it very easy to give City a win and Liverpool a win than Arsenal, because the rivalry in Africa for Arsenal and Man United is really way above this control ceiling in there. But for my case, I go to where it's rooted. And where is it rooted? It's rooted in Liverpool and Man City. But all in all, the game of football has to come up with a winner. Arsenal walking to Wembley. Arteta had never gone ahead to lose a game in Wembley ever since he started playing there as a player and as a manager. And for the very first time, it has been Pep Guardiola who went ahead to obviously do the needful. One will say that injuries, don't talk about injuries. I think he had a very good player cast that could obviously do the needful. Now, when you look at Victor Gyökeres, he did nothing on that pitch, and I was like, why could he really play 70 plus minutes? 60 minutes, no sooner had Arsenal gone ahead to obviously concede a goal. And by the way, for your information, I would have gone ahead to take off Gyökeres and keep Kai Havertz to lead the line. Throw in Trossard into the midfield, and then I put either Jesus or Martinelli onto the left attacking side of the midfield. You get? Because that's what he needed. He needed that player who could obviously hold up that defense. And I was seeing my friend on TikTok. He's called London. The other one is called Glad. The other one is called Lumansi. And I was hearing them say that central defense, keeping a clean sheet, is unforgivable to the Arsenal team. I never saw them putting that defense on tension, like sending shockwaves of tension through them. Kusanov and Nathan Ake were really, 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 really enjoying the ride that Arsenal was giving them, and everything was really moving on well into their vicinity. And I was like, who does this? You get? And I was like, who does this? Who does this? You understand? So I'm at this level of really telling you that the club of Arsenal needs to rethink, and Arteta needs to rethink his tactics, that he needs to do the needful. The other thing that I think Arsenal should learn from this game is they need vibrant and technically gifted wingers, like wide forwards. If you look at how Semenyo really brought his A game, you look at players like Ryan Cherki, right? So that's why I tell you that Arsenal in the summer transfer window should look in for people like Osman Dembele, Kvaratskhelia. Rodrigo is injured; he's out for close to a year. You can even hint on Julian Brandit, players like those, because in such a moment, they are players that you would 100% feel they could obviously change that game into the favor of Arsenal, because they could easily skip past players and obviously create a moment of magic. You saw how Patrick Dogo got involved in the first goal. That space, he obviously carries the ball, goes towards the D, and spreads the ball wide, a cross in, obviously into the back of the net. So Arsenal really needs to get in such players. But we have to give Pep Guardiola his flowers for obviously coming in through and really showing Arteta that I'm your master, like it or not. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. What haven't I gone ahead to say? I haven't obviously gone ahead to show you this, but let me drop it, and I'm calling it a day. So Man City, congratulations, after beating a team known as Arsenal. And would this act as a springboard for Man City to obviously charge for the trophy? We wait and see. For Arsenal, will it affect their mindset, or to lift their spirits high to fight for the most important trophies? You can talk about the stats. Arsenal 7 shots, Man City had 10. Arsenal had 3 shots on target. Man City had only 2 shots on target, and those shots went to cross the goal line. 37% ball possession by Arsenal. City 63% ball possession. Fouls 11-11 for both teams. 3 yellow cards to Arsenal, 1 yellow card to Man City. No red cards issued to either sides. 1 offside to each side, and 3 corners were shared amongst these. 6 corners were shared amongst these teams, meaning that every team would obviously get 3-3. So, heading to the international break, Man City knows very well that they are coming back for a very big game. They'll be hosting, so they'll be playing away at Chelsea. Chelsea that is going to hate to lose to Everton, and maybe they can look at a bounce back and they try themselves better. Then Arsenal will be hosting Bournemouth, and Arsenal will be playing first before Chelsea really plays in there. After playing against Bournemouth, obviously next weekend, it's Arsenal playing away at the Etihad. You understand? So, we out, and we see how things will pan out. But it doesn't really look good for the side of Arsenal. Arsenal fans, I know, they're already hiding their heads in the sand, but that's the game of football. I too wanted them to win. I thought they could win, but Arteta did what we call a very big disappointment to me. I was disappointed in him, by the way, very much disappointed in him as a manager, in how he controlled that game. But one thing I got right, I told you, I don't see this game going to extra time. I see this game ending in a full 90 minutes. And indeed, it went ahead to obviously end in a full 90 minutes, but in the favor of Manchester City. So guys, we love you all. It has been nice having you here. I know most of you have been like, where is Rokani? Sleep went ahead to take me over because I had slept. I woke up early yesterday and had not slept at all. So when sleep knocked on the door, I was like, let me give it was to sleep. And I was like, my first assignment when I wake up is to drop you this particular video. That I know you guys are obviously going to be loving hugely. But for Arsenal, hard luck. And for Man City, congratulations. You are triumphant. You beat Arsenal. And you now have your spirits high, set onto the next games. The next 2 games in the Premier League for Man City are really very crucial because they are playing away at Stamford Bridge, and as they play out Stamford Bridge, it's a wounded animal. Chelsea needs this game. They need this game badly. Then after that, they will be hosting Arsenal. Arsenal is hosting Bournemouth at the Emirates. That's when they're obviously going to be playing. That is 13th April. How many days from now? Good enough. They'll have some space of really seeing players like Timber, Odegaard, and Eze really resting and obviously getting back into the squad. And by the way, if that happens and those 3 return after the international break, then that will be giving Arsenal a very huge boost in as far as fighting for the Premier League is really concerned. Because you just imagine that in that game, if at all they really had an Ebelechi Eze starting and the Odegaard on the bench, getting Benjamin White off and bringing in Julian Timber, would have gone ahead to be a masterclass. And there is a person who always told me that Ben White is better than Julian Timber. And I was like, people really do have different opinions on the game of football, but how can someone really say that? And you know what? Do you know why they're saying like that? They're accusing the bad form of Bukayo Saka to Timber, And I was like, Saka is just a limited player. And the problem you people have, you really think that he will do messy things. That's not it. Yesterday, he denied Arsenal an opportunity of really getting the first goal because of being selfish. And for the first time, I was like, I exonerate him. The second time, the ball ricocheted into his space, and guess what he did? He was like trying to shoot again. Yet, Gyökeres was in the net and was like, get me the ball. You understand? So, not until Arsenal really gets players that are really serious on that side, because you saw when Noni Madueke came on, he was really making things happen. He got free kicks in there, and he really tried to make Nico O'Reilly busy. But Shockingly, Saka couldn't beat Nico O'Reilly. That is really a shocker. So guys, if I'm speaking about this game, I can speak about it until Kingdom Come. But I want to let you know that the game ended and it's Man City, the champions. Congratulations to Man City, and Arsenal went back empty-handed, and City have one in their locker. The quadruple for Arsenal comes to an end. City is competing in for 2 trophies now, the Premier League and the Champions League. Sorry, they're in the FA Cup and the Premier League. Arsenal still in the FA Cup, Champions League and the Premier League. Bye-bye.